was speaking in this somewhat low, that you considered to be out of breath tone.
Yes, sir.
And you started paying particular attention because he said to you, he sees the man again, or the man's following him.
Yes, sir. You can still hear the wind, sir. That's you can hear the wind, sir. I could hear the wind. That's how I know Trayvon was still walking, sir.
As opposed to hiding?
Yes, sir.
So you think he was walking as opposed to hiding because you could hear wind on this headset?
Yes, sir.
As if he couldn't be standing still and there could also be wind?
Trust me, it's not windy. Yes, sir.
At the point, though, where he tells you that he sees the man again, or as he said, the man's right there,
Yes, sir.
he decides to approach the man and say, "Why are you following me for?"
Objection, argumentative, and misstatement of the facts.
Sustained.
No, sir.
The objection's been sustained, so wait for another question. Thank you.
There's no question in your mind, is it, that Trayvon Martin, based upon what you said and what he said and what you heard, that he approached the man and said, "Why are you following me for?"
Same objection, Your Honor, and also compound question.
Okay, sustained.
May we be heard at the bench, please?
No. Ask the question again.
You believed at that point that Trayvon Martin approached the man and said, "Why are you following me for?"
No, sir.
Well, you want to explain that?
Trayvon told me the man was behind him and kept being close by him. That told me a lot. Close.
Trayvon told me that the man was behind him and kept being close by him. And what you said after that?
Yes, gave you a point. That gave me a point that the man was behind Trayvon, sir.
So he told you that he could see the man again, the man was behind him,
Yes.
correct?
Close.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And if he were hiding somewhere and the man walked close to him, they would be close together, correct?
Objection, argumentative, and in fact.
Sustained.
Ju- In any event, your sense of it was that they got close together at that point.
He got close to Trayvon. Yes, sir.
And you don't know whether the man was approaching Trayvon at that point and getting closer, or whether Trayvon was approaching the man and getting closer.
Trayvon would have told me he'll call me back, sir, if he was going to approach him, sir.
So you're assuming that Trayvon didn't approach the man because he would have told you if he was going to confront the guy, he would call you back when it was over?
Yes, sir.
In any event, you knew something was going to happen, I take it.
No, sir.
You knew that he had said to the man, "Why are you following me for?"
Yes, sir.
And you knew in your mind that it was going to be a fight.
No, sir.
But when you...
Maybe an argument.
You thought Trayvon Martin would approach a man he'd never seen in his life, and
I did
that
not
he
say
would...
Trayvon approached the man, sir.
Either way, are you saying that you thought that Trayvon would have the discussion with that guy that he'd never met in his life, didn't know who he was, didn't know anything about him, this creepy-ass cracker, and have just a gentlemanly conversation about why you following me for?
The dude was close. The man was close to him, sir. He just...
So Trayvon decided, instead of just running away, to confront this guy.
Objection, argumentative.
Of course
Speculation.
it's,
No, sir.
all right. But at the end of all of this, after you heard something hitting somebody, what you thought
bump,
might...
Sir.
Hmm?
A bump, sir. A bump.
We played it right at the beginning of this recording. Mr. Delarianda said the last thing you heard was something hitting somebody, and you said yes.
Objection, improper impeachment. Based on I'll be glad to clarify.
Thank you. You may answer the question.
I don't remember saying that, sir.
Given all of that, whatever it was, whether it was a bump, whether it was somebody hitting somebody, I thought, in fact, that you said that it could have been, for all you know, Trayvon Martin smashing George Zimmerman in the face, is what you actually heard.
What?
Yeah, just earlier today.
By who?
By you.
You ain't get that from me?
After all of that happened, you decided not to do anything because you thought it was just a fight and that you didn't need to come to Trayvon Martin's aid, did you?
What? Repeat what your question again, sir?
Whatever that was happening that you were paying particular attention to, you decided that you didn't need to call anybody, call the police, report anything because you thought it was just a fight.
I did call him back, sir.
Of course, but you didn't get an answer. Didn't that make you even more worried?
I called back again, sir.
And I would assume that would heighten.
And I had text, sir.
Still no answer.
No, sir.
A couple of calls, a text, and no answer.
No, sir.
And the reason you didn't do anything was because you thought it was just a fight.
And I thought his father was around there.
But you thought it was just a fight because it was one you knew that Trayvon Martin was planning to start.
No, sir. He would have told me, sir, and told me to call him back or he'll call me back, sir.
So you figure then that if Trayvon Martin was getting ready to sucker punch somebody and get in a fight, that he would have told you, let me take care of this and I'll call you right back?
Argumentative, speculation.
Is that what you're saying? That you're saying that if Trayvon Martin was getting ready to assault this man, that he would have said, hang on a minute, I'll call you back?
Say objection, argumentative, speculation.
Just 1 second. Overruled.
No, sir. He would not let me on the phone.
But you wouldn't,
No, sir.
you,
No, sir, he would not.
Allow me on the phone with him if he was about to have a fight.
I didn't,
Sir.
I didn't understand it. Say that again. What about that he would have told you if he was getting ready to have a fight?
If he was going to confront the man, he would have told me, oh, I'm about to confront the man and see what he wants. He did not tell me that, sir. He just told me he trying to get home, sir. But the man was still following him, sir.
So you're assuming that if Trayvon Martin were planning to confront this man and assault him, that he would have given you a heads up?
Objection is the mischaracterization of what this witness said.
The witness's answer is what it is.
Well, has he ever told you that before? That he was going to assault someone and he'd call you back?
Improper questioning.
No, that's not a
Honor,
proper
I'll be glad
objection,
to,
so.
I didn't want to make a
overruled.
speaking objection, Your Honor. We've had this issue before.
Counsel, please approach.
In any event, you didn't take any steps or even have any particular concern about what you heard, because in your mind it was just a fight.
I did, sir.
In the conversation that you had with Mr. Della Rionda on April 2nd, he asked you some questions about whether Trayvon Martin had told you that the man had gotten out of the car. Do you remember those questions?
No, sir.
Let me take a minute and find the reference. So Mr. Della Rionda said to you in a question, I can read it exactly or paraphrase it, but the conversation was that Mr. Della Rionda asked you...
May I see it, sir?
Hmm?
May I see it, sir?
Yes, but let me set the stage, if I might. Mr. Della Rionda said, but did he ever say the guy got out of the car?
I don't remember, sir.
You don't remember that
Who are you
Mr.
talking
Della...
about?
Here's what I'm talking about. That Mr. Della Rionda asked you, did he ever say the guy got out of the car? And your response to him was, you want that too? Do you remember that?
I don't remember, sir.
Let's play.
May I
Asked for you to show her, so if you'll please give her a copy. Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
All right, let me direct your attention to this paragraph, ask you to read that. And it's, my note here underneath is what I thought I heard your answer was. So I want you to see if you remember that and if that was your answer, and I'll ask you that.
No, sir.
What is it you say no?
That's not what I said.
You did-
I can't hear you.
That's not what I said. That's your opinion, sir.
All right.
That's what you thought I
On the
said.
paragraph where Mr. Delagrange asks you, did he ever say the guy got out of the car?
Keep reading this, sir.
And I said, the transcript says that you said you want that too. And you're saying you didn't say that?
No, sir.
Do you remember what you said instead?
No, sir. But I did not say that.
You do specifically remember that when Mr. Delagrange asked you, did he ever say the guy got out of the car, that you did not say in response, you want that too?
No, sir. I did not even say you want that too. No, I did not say that, sir.
Okay. Could we play that portion, please? I think we have a few.
Judge, I have no objection to that
Thank you.
sentence only, or whatever.
Well, let's just play.
I'm not objecting to the rest. I mean, I apologize, I don't mean to make a speaking objection.
Well, let's play that part first.
Improper impeachment in the manner in which it is being played, my objection.
What is the purpose for it being played, sir?
So the jury
No.
can hear for themselves whether or not Ms. Gentile gave the answer that she just denied giving.
She said those were your notes, not hers.
Yes,
I don't know what transcript both sides have. I have somebody's transcript, and there's supposedly difference in the transcripts.
Well, Mr. Delagrange's transcript has the witness's response the same way that I do.
Could you show me what page it's on? Because I don't know whose I'm looking at.
Just let the jury hear what.
Well, I've asked a question. Could you tell me, first of all, whose transcript do I have?
May I just get clear up that I gave it to you? I gave it to you, it's ours, it does not have an answer on it because it was added in earlier, so what you have just has asterisks, that's not gonna help you.
Could you please tell me what page?
Down page 15, may I approach and just get you to the page? The end of the last line of the page is when he was at the bail thing. You can find that way.
Okay, I must have a different one.
May I approach, Ron?
Yes. The pages are not numbered.
Here is the night. And it's where the asterisks are 3/4 of the way down.
I think it's page 14.
Where it doesn't have it.
There's more information about that, so I think you need to play both.
improper impeachment, that's his intent to do that, and I think we had.
Well, the transcript I have from that question, it has asterisks. There's no answer.
You know, my proposal is that that question and that answer, and her answer be provided, and
But for what purpose? If it's for impeachment, because your transcript doesn't have an answer.
that's right.
It has
because
4
the-
asterisks.
Yes, the transcriptionist seemingly couldn't hear it. Mr.
Okay.
Delarianda's
But you're
transcriptionist could, and I believe it's audible enough that the jury can hear it if we just play the recording.
I don't have the other transcript. Is it at all possible for me to get a copy of that?
That would be in the state's possession.
Your Honor, I can see if I've got a clean one, mine's all.
Just show the court if you like.
I think I've got it. For the record, on our transcript, it's at the bottom of page 16, and it continues all the way through page 17.
Thank you.
Sorry. Let me make sure, because this is good now. Bottom of page 16 all the way through page 17.
Thank you. Guess I don't see the language that you had indicated what was said, Mr. West. Where your asterisks are?
Yes, where the asterisks are on this transcript, Mr. Delarianda has a phrase.
Okay, counsel, please approach, because I, ladies and gentlemen, your lunch is here, so I'm gonna, the hungry grumblings I hear in your stomach will be satisfied. During the lunch period, you're not to discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anybody else. You're not to read or listen to any radio, television, or newspaper reports about the case. You're not to use any type of an electronic device to get on the internet to do independent research about the case, people, places, things, or terminology. And you're not to read or create any emails, text messages, Twitters, tweets, blogs, or social networking pages about the case. Do I have all of your assurances that you will abide by these instructions? Okay, with that, if you'll please put your notepads face down on the chair and follow Corporal Debs out to the jury room. Stay seated for just a moment. Be seated for just a moment. Everybody be seated. The court is going to be in recess until 1:45. Ms. Gentile, you need to be back here at 1:45. Again, you're not to discuss what your testimony has been or will be with anybody, including any of the lawyers. Do you understand? Okay, can we have a deputy escort Ms. Gentile out of the courtroom? Is there anything else that we need to take up before we recess for lunch? Okay, thank you very much. We'll be in recess.
The friend that wrote that letter, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's a friend that you asked to write it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were also asked about numerous questions about the interview that you gave me, the statement you gave me when I went down to, and I apologize, me in terms of with an investigator too, down in Miami. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. West asked you about the fact that the state attorney's office from Jacksonville had been appointed by the governor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In terms of you found out that we were handling the case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you agreed to speak to me, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, as you stated, 2 cars went to a place where you were at a friend's house and we picked you up and took you down to take a statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were pretty emotional at that statement, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Was it hard for you to talk about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in that statement, you, as best you could, attempted to tell what you remember?
I'm objecting now. This is the third in a series of leading questions. This is redirect. They should be direct questions rather than leading.
I'll be glad to rephrase it, Your Honor.
Thank you, sustained.
You recall in that statement stating that, I'm sorry, the April 2nd statement that Mr. West asked you about, that Trayvon Martin was running away from the person?
Yes, sir.
And you also made reference that Trayvon Martin said the man described him as a creepy white.
Object that it is, well, at this point, beyond the scope of the cross-examination and not responsive to one of the issues raised during the cross. And it's also leading.
Overruled, and as to the first 2 objections, as to the leading, I will give a little leeway to get a frame of reference and then make sure your questions aren't leading.
Yes, Your Honor. My question is, do you recall Mr. West asking you that Trayvon Martin referred to the man that was following him as a creepy white cracker?
Yes, sir.
I didn't say that. That's a mischaracterization of the testimony.
I'm sustained because I think the words were creepy ass cracker.
I apologize. Were the words creepy, pardon my language, creepy ass cracker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you recall Mr. West asking you about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also, and to you, is that a derogatory, or is that the way people speak in your culture, your age group?
Objection leading. Suggesting an answer.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
You also made reference at some point that Mr. Trayvon Martin also referred to the person also with the N-word. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when I say person, he's talking about the person that was following him, referred to using the N-word.
Yes, sir.
By the way, in that letter, may I post again? That letter, Defense Exhibit 17, you actually read it, Trayvon Martin's name is misspelled. Were you aware of that?
No, sir.
It's spelled T-R-E-R.
Overruled.
It's spelled T-R-E-V-O-N. Were you aware of that?
No, sir.
You mentioned also, when asked by Mr. West about the statement that you gave to Mr. Crump by phone, correct? Was that by phone, just to make sure the record? You weren't there in person, or were you?
By phone.
Okay. And Mr. Crump did not ask you specific questions about certain items or certain questions that I asked you specifically on April 2nd, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Overruled.
Did Mr. Crump ask you specific questions like I did?
No, sir.
You were asked by Mr. West in terms of what happened, and you recall in the interview that you gave me on April the 2nd, the statement you gave, you referred to the man approaching Trayvon Martin, and it sounded like a bump. Do you recall using the word bump?
Yes, sir.
Objection. I guess I don't quite understand what's going on here. Is this confronting the witness with her prior statement that he was present for?
What is your objection?
Well, it's leading, and it is improper impeachment. If anything, it's bolstering by a supposed prior consistent statement of some sort.
Overruled on all three.
Do you recall using the word bump in describing what occurred to Trayvon Martin?
Yes, sir.
For the record, do you still live, Mr. West asked you about meeting with two individuals from FDLE in Miami. You still live in Miami, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You were asked by Mr. West about the phone calls that you had with Mr. Trayvon Martin that day on February 26th. Would you agree that the phone records are the best records about that in terms of the length of the calls, whatever the times are?
Yes, sir.
Let me have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you have any recross?
Briefly, thank you, Judge. Ms. Gentile, you were born and raised in Miami, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you spoke English at home?
What age you're talking about, sir?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Are you saying that English is your third language? That you spoke Creole and Spanish first?
I spoke 3 languages first. I learned how to speak 3 languages first, but Creole was the first one.
Does your mother speak English?
Not that well, sir.
Does she speak English?
Not that well, sir.
I understand she may have an accent or some limitations, but do you speak to her in English?
Sometimes, sir.
And if you're not speaking to her in English, you're speaking to her in Creole?
Yes, sir.
And your father, do you speak to him in English?
Yes, sir.
And when you went to school as a child, kindergarten, did you speak English at school?
Yes, sir.
And have you spoken English to your teachers and classmates in school up through today.
Yes, sir.
Are you claiming in any way that you don't understand English?
I understand you. I understand you. I do understand English.
My question is, when someone speaks to you in English, do you believe that you have any difficulty understanding it because it wasn't your first language?
I understand English really well.
You've spoken it all your life.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing that I've said to you today in English that, or yesterday, that you haven't understood, correct?
No, sir.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about is Mr. Delarianda said in reference to Trayvon Martin saying creepy ass cracker and using the N-word, that people speak like that in your culture. Did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Well, what culture is that where people describe other people as creepy ass crackers?
A pervert.
I'm sorry?
A pervert.
Do you understand what I mean by the culture that you were raised in, the culture that
The
you live
area
in?
I was raised in. What you trying to say?
Right. I'll say it this way. Do people that you live around and with call white people creepy ass crackers?
Not creepy, but cracker, yeah.
So the creepy is the pervert part that you were talking about?
Yeah.
So forget that for a second. You're saying that in the culture that you live in your community, people there call white people crackers.
Yes, sir.
And do they use the N-word regularly?
Yes, sir.
And you're saying so did Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin referred to white people as crackers, correct?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay, thank you, nothing else.
Thank you. Any redirect? May Ms. Gentile be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. You may be excused. If the state will please call your next witness. Well, she's going to return to Miami. Will we have notice before she would be called back? The state's releasing them from their portion.
We would like a few minutes to proffer some testimony is what I'm thinking. It could be at the end of the day today, or it could be at another time later in the proceeding.
Okay. Then I need to know if the defense has any objections to her returning to her home and then bringing her back.
Well, could we do it at the end of the day? And rather than inconvenience the jury, just have Ms. Gentile wait until the end of the day? Or
Okay, if counsel will please approach. There's a brief matter that we need to take up outside your presence. Thank you for your patience. If you'll please put your notepads face down on the chair and follow Corporal Demps out of the courtroom. please be seated? Yes, you may approach. Allow you to go home, but I want to remind you that even though you're being excused from the court today, there is a possibility you may be called back to testify. So the subpoena that has been issued requiring you to be at court is still in full force and effect. So if you all are called back to testify, arrangements will be made for you to come back here, and you must be available under that subpoena until you are released by me, okay? You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, if you'll please follow Corporal Dempsey out of the courtroom, and after that, if we'll get the jury back in.
Judge, before they come in, do we have permission to set the document camera up and make sure it's?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I use my phone?
Pardon?
Can I use my phone?
As soon as you're out of the courthouse room, you can. Okay, is the defense ready for the jury to come back into the courtroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring the jury back in.
Jury present, Honor.
Please be seated. Mr. Manti, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. This court is called Ray McDonald.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McDonald, if you would, please go ahead and spell your last name for a court reporter. Tell us who you are, where you work, and what you do.
Okay, first name Raymond, last name MacDonald, MacDonald. And I'm a senior manager at T-Mobile, the wireless phone company.
Where do you operate from?
Our corporate headquarters is in Bellevue, Washington. Our office is in Parsippany, New Jersey.
And when you say our office, which office specifically, which branch or sort of agency of T-Mobile?
I'm with the Law Enforcement Relation Group. We're part of the legal department.
And as part of your duties there, do you have occasion to review, collect, and authenticate records of phone calls for T-Mobile customers?
Yes.
Okay. Are those records normally kept in the course of T-Mobile's business because you, of course, have to bill people?
Yes.
And are they made at or near the time that the calls are documented?
Yes, they are.
So this is sort of your monthly phone bill, and you guys keep all that stuff.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, I'm showing you what's been marked for, and I think sort of by agreement, sections of phone records for 2 T-Mobile phones marked currently as States Exhibits 166 and 167. You're familiar with the records reflected in those exhibits?
Yes, I am.
If there's no objection, I would be moving 166 and 167 into evidence.
No objection?
No.
166 will come in as 166, as will 167 come in as 167.
Mr. McDonald, if you would please go ahead and tell us sort of how it is that these records get generated. How does T-Mobile get a paper record of a cellular phone call?
When a call is made, as the call goes through the T-Mobile network, on the switches in that network are billing gateways. Those billing gateways capture the information for billing purposes. That information is then sent out to the billing computers where it sits in a digital format until which time it's called upon for whatever need the company has for those records.
The first set of records that I'd like to discuss is one that's affiliated with the phone number, the T-Mobile phone number, area code 407-435-2400. Do you see that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
And which exhibit is that, sir?
This is States Exhibit 167.
Okay. And Mr. McDonald, if I could direct your attention up to the large screen. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to show you a portion of that record. Oh, boy. Here we go. That's better. And I'm going to ask you to tell us sort of what it is that we're looking at here, what kind of columns we're talking about. If I start with the left-hand column, is that the phone number that the records are associated with?
The left-hand column under the heading Misden, which is just a fancy term for the phone number, that is the phone number for the subscriber for those records.
If I'm looking specifically at the records for the 2/26/2012 date, you see that column there with the dates?
Yes.
And then I look in the destination column. I guess I'll start with the very top of that column. That series of numbers there starts with 216. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. What is that column?
That is an IP addressing. It's all I can tell you. It's some type of IP session, some type of web session. That number is IP addressing.
So you're talking about an internet provider?
Yes.
If I go to the next sort of the next word, which is incoming in that column, what is an incoming call?
When you see incoming and the destination, it just simply means that the call is an incoming call, that it came into the subscriber's handset.
Okay. And so if it were a call being made by the subscriber, what would it say?
It will be, you see under the incoming, it will have a destination. Like in this case, it will say Sanford, Florida.
Okay. As it does in the next line? Then?
Yes, that would indicate an outgoing call.
Okay. And as for time, is that military time there, sir?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to move over for a moment to the call type. Tell me what that F means and what that D means over there in that column.
Well, the F is a mobile-to-mobile call. It's a T-Mobile to T-Mobile phone. And when you see a D, that indicates that it's a text message.
And if I go out just a little bit to number of minutes, what is that column designed to measure?
That's the number of minutes for the call.
So the duration of the call?
Duration of the call,
So
yes.
under the time column, is that the start time of the phone call?
Yes, yes it is.
And then the number of minutes tells you how long it lasts?
Yes, we bill out to the minute. So it's, if you see the first one's 3 minutes, that would be anything between 2 and 3 minutes.
So let me guess, you round it up?
Yes.
As far as T-Mobile phones go, in your familiarity with their records, as far as the clock, the time that a call starts, unless the phone is altered in some way by the user, are all the T-Mobile phones going to use the same time?
The phones, if they're in auto time, then they would pick up the time for the area that they're in. Of course, most phones, people can set their own time on the phones also.
Okay. Now tell me about text messages and times.
Text messaging, the timestamp of text messaging is in Pacific time because it's default routing, and it picks up default routing, and it picks up Pacific time for the timestamp.
So if I look there, for example, the first D column I see for text message says incoming text message at 2014. Does that mean that the text message actually arrived at 8:14 p.m. Eastern time or Pacific time?
That would be Pacific time, and you just add the 3 hours for Eastern time.
Okay, so that text would actually arrive in the phone at 23:14 instead of 2014?
Yes.
If the phone were in the Eastern time zone?
Yes.
To determine the length in seconds of the phone call, do you have to actually measure the recording itself and time it? In other words, you say, for example, if I look at the third call up there, the incoming call that says 3 minutes, you said that could last anywhere actually between 2 and 3 minutes. Would I have to actually time the phone call itself to get to the actual seconds?
With looking at these records, this type of billing format, yes.
Okay. And the same would be true of all the calls in that column?
Yes, with the exception of text messaging, it's going to show a 1. That's more or less a placeholder. It'll usually always show a 1 or a 0.
Okay. So I see 2 calls that I just want to direct your attention to in particular. One at 19:08. Do you see that one?
Yes, I do.
So that would be made at 7:08 p.m. and I think the column indicates that that lasts 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a second one at 19:18 that lasts 1, and both of those calls are made to 407-688-5070.
Yes, they're both outgoing calls to that number.
When you see a 1 in the number of minutes, does that mean that there actually was any conversation, or could it simply mean that there was a call and then a connection and an immediate hang-up?
In order for it to come on to these billing records, there would have to be some type of connection. I couldn't tell you what that connection is, but a connection on the other end.
All right. And as long as there's 1 second of connection, it's going to show a minute.
Yes.
All right? Because you get a bill for it, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to move, if I could, Exhibit 166. And now in looking at these records, I'm going to start, I guess, let me do it this way. If I look over to the left-hand column, that number I see there, 17863129558, what is that number?
That is that would be the number for these records. That would be the number of the subscriber for these records.
Okay, so that's the phone number.
Yes.
If I ask you the second column there that says voice, what does that mean?
That's the type of activity. It may say voice, it may say SMS, which short message service, it's a text message, or you may see data in there also.
Okay. And the third column, where we have a date, what appears to be a time, including seconds, what is that column?
That is the date and time of the call, or the activity of the phone.
And incoming and outgoing, does that mean the same thing as it did in 167?
Yes.
All right. As far as the next column where I see another long number, what does that column signify?
That would be the phone number that is either calling to the subscriber number or the subscriber is calling to.
Okay. And TMO-US, I can bet that stands for T-Mobile?
T-Mobile US, yes.
Okay. If I look at the last column, actually the last two columns over here, what do those columns signify in terms of, I'm going to ask duration for minutes and then durations for seconds?
Yes, these are the first column second from the right to the left. That's your time of the call or activity in seconds. And it's actually rounded out, in minutes. And the seconds are rounded out in hundredths of a minute.
All right, so the far right column is seconds and the
Yes.
second to the right column is in minutes?
Yes.
And again, you're rounding up?
Yes.
So if I were to, for example, look at the highlighted call, which is the first highlighted call, 2/26/2012 at 7:12:06 p.m., does that tell me that that is an incoming phone call to this phone that connected at 7:12:06 on the evening of February 26, 2012?
Yes.
Okay. And the phone number that called that phone is 786-419-3726?
Yes, that's correct.
And that phone call lasted 218 seconds or 3.63 minutes?
Yes.
The very first call on this sheet, it's not highlighted, but it shows a connection time of what, sir?
6:54 and 16 seconds p.m.
Okay, and it's that same phone number that ends in 3726?
Yes.
And it is for 17.53 minutes?
Yes.
Let me ask you, the second highlighted call here, and in fact every call thereafter, where we alternate incoming, outgoing, all the way down the page?
Yes.
Okay. Beginning with that second highlighted call, it looks like it is 43 seconds or 0.72 minutes.
Yes.
Can
that's
you
correct.
tell me what these records indicate to you as far as the nature of that call and why we see alternated incoming and outgoing all the way?
Well, starting on 2/26/2012 at 7:16 p.m. and 24 seconds, you have the incoming call from 786-419-3726, and under that you see it appears to say outgoing to 1-805-637-7249. That 805 number is our voicemail platform. T-Mobile's one of the voicemail platforms. So what you're seeing is the 3726 number is calling into the subscriber's number. It's not being answered, and it's dropping the voicemail. The reason it would appear to be an outgoing call, where it says outgoing, is as a call drops into voicemail, the phone pushes that call over to voicemail. So on the records, it gives an indication of an outgoing call. It's just going to voicemail.
So after the call at 7:12:06 p.m. gets disconnected, is every call thereafter go straight to voicemail?
To the bottom of that page, yes, that's what's happening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, I have no. Your Honor, thank you. I have no other questions.